So, trust me, evaluating and communicating trustworthiness of data custodians. It's the big question of the day. Many people are talking about how trust is becoming increasingly more important in data protection than autonomous control of information. And there was a recent Columbia University study of over 8,000 consumers, and the results were that 80% will only give data to a limited number of companies that they trust. So even though there are a lot of people giving over lots of data, oftentimes they were to the most trusted company in any particular sector. And also, over 75% of people are more willing to share various types of personal data with brands that they trust. So again, this idea of reputation, of brands, of trust in the public and private sector is key. But the big thing, electronic identification trust services currently are regional, variable, and uncoordinated. So if we're looking at digital services that let people have increasingly mobile lives in different sectors, it's difficult to figure out how these trust networks can go from one region to another. And you see initiatives coming out of places like the EU with eIDAS, where it's looking for mechanisms to have some kind of coordinated, standardized trust metrics and evaluation tools. So how does this fit in with the MyData model and the MyData principles? MyData is predicated on a concept of mutual trust. And so there were various things that we consider to be things that build trust. One of them is transparency. People knowing what data is being collected, who can use it, who can access it, who can share it. A second is this concept of interoperability or interchangeability. So people know that once data is collected by some particular service, they would be able at a different time to take that data and move it to a different service if they so chose, or even to retract the data that they before had authorized access to. Another concept is public governance, the idea that somehow this is being overseen according to some rule of law, and you have redress and recourse in case something is violated. Respectable companies, so companies that you trust and have past experience with, public awareness of what trustworthiness means, and secure technologies, so knowing that there isn't going to be hacks or security breaks. So with the MyData model, as we explained in more depth in the white paper, we see the key to this trust management on an individual level lying in consent management. So the idea being that you can't necessarily control all of your different pieces of data and how they flow, but you can control what consent you give. And so we have different diagrams that, again, I encourage you to actually take a look at the white paper, read it, about how consent management can be delegated and repurposed, and there can be automated notifications of transfer of one consent to another.